Hey, what's going on everyone? Welcome to the channel. If you happen to be new, thanks for joining us. My name is Chris and this is the Christopher Scott channel. Today's video is going to be all about setting up a simple DIY system to breed axolotls. This system is super simple, it's super cheap to set up, it doesn't take a lot of effort to maintain, and it does really well for a breeding setup. Now I've been breeding axolotls for some time. I have an albino as well as a glow in the dark. And you can see those guys here, they're doing fantastic in their little aquarium setup. This is where I have these guys breeding. Today's setup is going to be a little different as you can see, but it's still going to use some of the same elements that are pretty simple to find and, well, pretty simple to take care of. So with that guys, let's go ahead and get into getting this set up today. Well, as you can see, we have our little blue swimming pool full of water, and this has not been dechlorinated, treated in any way. In this particular setup, we are not going to be using any type of substrate. So the first thing we're going to want to do is go ahead and treat this water and go ahead and get rid of all the chlorine. What we're going to be using today is API Aqua Essential. Now, API makes an entire line of water conditioners, but Aqua Essential is pretty much essential for your setup for axolotls. And the reason is it does not contain aloe, which aloe is actually harmful to these axolotls. Now we're gonna go ahead and use a standard aerator. And for filtration, we're gonna be using a standard sponge filter. Now I love these sponge filters, first off, because I sell them on my website, freshwaterscrub.com. In fact, if you use the code axolotl, you'll get 10% off your entire order today. What I love about these is they articulate. So you can actually adjust the height of them. You can adjust the sponge and make it go a different way, however you want. The filters come off for a replacement, and then your air line just simply clips right into here and plugs in into the side of the sponge filter. Along with these sponge filters, I also sell this style of sponge filter as well, but this doesn't really work in such a shallow setup. So today we're going to be using these. Now with that, you can also purchase airline hose as a part of this with a check valve. Now what's important about a check valve as I set this up, a check valve allows flow one direction and not the other. And the reason is we want air to go in, but what we don't want to have happen is the water to siphon out. So what we're going to do is we're going to take this, attach it to our filter. We're going to come to the end here. We're going to cut off a little piece of this. We're gonna put this check valve in line with it, making sure that our flow is correct. And you can blow on these to make sure you're putting it in right. So this end right here does not allow flow through it, so we're gonna put that towards our filter. And then if you blow on the other end, you should hear air coming through. So we're good there. Go ahead and put this together. Go ahead and drop our sponge filter into this little pool pond. And let's go ahead and hook this up to our aerator. So we now have airflow, and these sponge filters come with two suction cups that go right here on the back that allow you to suction it to glass or what have you. Now for this, I'm gonna go ahead and suction cup this right here to the bottom of our little pool. It being plastic, it'll hold nicely. I'm gonna take these sponges and I'm gonna go ahead and soak these in the water to get them weighed down. We'll go ahead and put these on right here, just like this. And with that, our water is now filtering. Now that we have the filtration set up, we have one more thing we need to do and add to this, and that is a fan. And you can use a fan or a cooler of some sort because axolotls do need colder water. We're gonna go ahead and use a fan. Now with this fan, we're gonna blow it right across the surface area of this little pool, and we're gonna make sure that it hits the bubbles coming up because it actually allows the water to cool a little faster than just the surface area. And this water is nice and cold. I actually had this fan running for a while my mic charged, and this water is nice and cool at this point. And this is exactly what axolotls need, is cold water. Should be less than 70 degrees, and without a chiller or a fan, it's hard to maintain that. So I don't have a thermometer that will fit in here, an aquatic thermometer, but this is a pool thermometer, and we're gonna go ahead and drop this in here and see if we can get this thing to give us a reading. And just like that, guys, in my house where it's 74 degrees, 73 degrees, just by putting this fan on this water. This water is currently at 67 degrees and it'll continue to get cooler as this fan continues to blow on here. And as you can see, just so you know I'm being honest with you, this is in fact less than 70 degrees. Of course it came up probably a degree or so taking it out of the water, but the fan system works really well. The more agitation you can cause on the surface, it actually will work even better. So if you put a bubbler or something like that in here, it would actually even help cool this water down even more. No point in spending a bunch of money on an expensive chiller when you can just simply use a fan like that. So with that, this is completely dechlorinated. I want to go ahead and grab some pre-cycled filter media so this thing is ready immediately for these axolotls. And we're going to go do that by getting it out of one of our already established setups. So let's go do that now. So we went ahead and took one out of this setup, and we're not going to talk about what's in here. There is a top on here for a reason. We'll get to that in another video, but we'll be coming back to get some plants from here in a little while. But we have our sponge. Let's get back over there. And just like that, this thing is fully cycled essentially because, well, the beneficial bacteria lives in the filter media, not in the water column. We're gonna go ahead and let this run for a little bit, and we're gonna go ahead and add some plants to this. Now, I will tell you, a lot of plants are not gonna survive in sub 70 degree water, especially tropical plants. What I found is things like Java ferns, guppy grass, and floating plants will do okay in here, and that's what we're gonna add today. We're gonna let this thing run for just a little while, and I'll go ahead and catch you guys over in our plant tub in just a minute so we can go ahead and pick out some plants that we can put into this setup. All right guys, well we have a bunch of plants in here and we're gonna go ahead and take some of these out to move over to this axolotl setup. One of the things I talked about are Java ferns, so we're gonna grab some Java ferns. Now this is just a simple storage container for plants. This is not where I grow them. It's a temporary housing spot for plants. So we're gonna grab a Java fern, and actually we're gonna grab a couple. Some of these Java ferns don't look great, but we're still gonna put those in there. We're gonna grab this water-grown pothos. So in case you don't know, pothos is a plant that you can actually buy just at Walmart. This is a golden pothos, and if you take it and take the root system completely out of the dirt, give it a good rinse with some dechlorinated water, and just simply throw it into a system, it will actually grow completely underwater like this. And that is what this is. We're also going to throw in, which is going to be difficult to get out of here, we're going to throw in some of this parrot's feather. This stuff is good surface level plants that'll float in there. We're going to grab a nice big old handful of this Christmas moss as well, put in there. Put some of these red root floaters in there. All right, let's cover this tub back up because we don't want what's in here jumping out. So with that, like I said, we're gonna put some of this guppy grass in here, and this stuff will float right here on the top. There's a bunch of duckweed that's in it as well, which is fine. We were gonna put duckweed in here anyway. We're just gonna spread this kind of out like so. We have our golden pothos, and our golden pothos is half submerged and half emerged, and we're going to put the submerged portion up in here, and then we're going to leave this emerged portion hanging out of the tub. Axolotls are not going to climb out of here and jump out because they are aquatic animals. Of course, an axolotl can go through metamorphosis and turn into a land living salamander. However, that's only under very, very bad conditions, which they're not going to be living in, so they will stay in the water. We have a few of these Java ferns that we're going to put in here. Some of these Java ferns don't look great. They've come out of either other systems or they're just not growing well, so they were in that temporary storage. This stuff is one of my favorites, which is parrot's feather. Now, parrot's feather is not legal in all states. It may not be something you can get. Got a whole bunch more of this guppy grass. We have our Christmas moss. We're just gonna put this in here in random spots. And then we have some floating plants, these red root floaters. We're just gonna throw these in here like so, and they will float around and do perfectly fine in here. Now, one of the things axolotls do like is darkness. They don't have great vision, and they really don't like a bunch of light. Now, we have a bunch of plants in here, so we're gonna have to have a light on here for these plants to grow. So what we need to do is add some hides to this. However, I'm not gonna do that right now. We're gonna introduce the axolotls to this before, and we will turn off all the lights, and I will come back later on in this video and add some hides for these guys. But for right now, this thing is done. We've got all the plants in here. There's no aquascape to this really. It's just throwing a bunch of random plants in here. And the reason is because when axolotls actually lay their eggs, it's done kind of like this. So what you just watched was my albino and my glow-in-the-dark axolotls, and that was the female laying her eggs, and they basically deposit them on plant, on the bottom, things like that. So we want to make sure there's plenty of spaces for her to feel comfortable to lay her eggs for the male to come back around and actually fertilize those. So this will be a perfect setup. She can lay eggs anywhere in here on anything. She'll lay them on the sponge filter, on the plant roots, on the guppy grass. She can lay them everywhere. So when we're ready to extract these eggs, we will just literally take all the plants out, take the sponge filter out, get everything off the bottom, and then we will take those to a hatching system. So we'll get into that into a later video, because as of right now, we're just simply setting this up for these axolotls to breed. So with that, let's go ahead and get these axolotls acclimated and get those guys in here. We have our tub of axolotls here, and we're gonna start acclimating them to this water. We're gonna go ahead and start cup acclimating them into this system.
20 minutes later.
All right, guys. Well, these guys should be fully acclimated to the point where we can go ahead and get them in there. And we're gonna go ahead and set this bucket in just like this. And we are going to allow these guys to kind of swim out on their own. All right, guys, well, let's flash back to where we picked up these wild colored axolotls and see exactly how we came across these guys. Well, we have all of this completely set up. The temperature in this water is currently 64 degrees. 64 degrees. Like I said, that is crazy considering the fact that the ambient temperature in here right now is currently 73 degrees. So the temperature here has dropped 9 degrees in just a matter of a few hours due to the fact that we are blowing this fan right across the surface of this water, across this bubbler. And at 64 degrees, that is a perfect temperature for these axolotls. What I was saying is we need to create hides for them. So we're gonna run out and grab something to create these hides with. So we're gonna go do that, and we're also gonna go ahead and pick up some dither fish for this setup that will live inside of this 64 degree water. I will catch you guys when we get back to the house with everything that we need.
Hey guys, come in real close. I got something important to tell you. So, you know what? Hey, Johnny, get the f out the way. You're messing up my flow. Okay, listen, freshwaterscrub.com. Use the code AXOLOTL for 10% off your entire order until November the 5th. All right, guys. Well, we'll see you later. F***ing Johnny.
All right, guys. Well, we are back with some dither fish as well as some hides for these guys. We're going to talk about what fish we picked up and why we chose what we chose. But in the meantime, while we let these guys sit here and acclimate, we're going to go ahead and create the hides that we picked up from Lowe's. And this is going to consist simply of a couple of terracotta pots. So let's get that done now. So guys, what I did is I went ahead and picked up these pots from Lowe's. And the thing is, these are like $4 a piece. However, these are cracked, and that is perfect because we were gonna cut them in half anyway. So they gave them to us for 50% off. And all we're gonna do is grab this thing and pull it apart where the crack was, and it makes a perfect hide. The sharp edge is gonna be down towards the bottom, so there's no chance of them actually hurting themselves. So we have one hide here, and I bought a second one right here, and we're gonna do the same thing. Perfect, we have hides. So as far as the hides go, we're just simply gonna place these in here, not anywhere specific. We're just gonna sit them just like this. And what that'll allow is for these axolotls to get in here and hide from the light that is inside of this room that is being projected down on top of this pool to help the plant growth. So we have one hide here, and we will simply place this other hide on the other side right over here. And just like that, we have two completely secluded hides for these guys to get inside of and get away from this sunlight. All right, guys, well, we're gonna start with some ghost shrimp. Now, ghost shrimp should be in temperatures around 70 degrees, but they can deal with some colder temperatures, and we've acclimated them fully. So we're hoping that these will survive. Now, normally I would not pour the water from a store into my setup. However, this is from my wholesaler, and I know how good of care they take around their system, so I'm not overly worried about that. These guys will not be eaten in here. The diet of an axolotl is definitely not fish. It is usually earthworms. So these guys will actually breed in here and hopefully reproduce, which would be fantastic. So we're gonna take a closer look at this setup with these fish in here. We have a few left that we are in fact going to feed to some fish, but hopefully you're okay with that. And if you're not, I'll warn you before we do that. All right, guys. Well, we are about to do a live feeding, and this live feeding is gonna consist of feeding some predator fish, some of these gambusia, but also feeding live earthworms to these axolotls. Earthworms are the natural diet of axolotls, and I predominantly feed them earthworms. I am turning the fan off as well as the filtration, just simply so we can, see this happen. And if you notice right here, this little dude is coming up because he is ready to eat. All right, guys, well, hopefully you went on to enjoy this video, and hopefully you enjoyed watching us set up this little breeding system. I will keep you up to date on how this is going and show you exactly the progress we're making. So with that, guys, thank you so very much. If you haven't checked us out on Facebook and Instagram, please do that now. Links to both are down below, as well as check us out on freshwaterscrub.com, where you can pick up all your plants that you saw in the video today, as well as any sponge filters that you may need. So with that, guys, I am truly grateful for every one of you. Thank you very much. I love you guys, and we will see you next time.